used to live alone, in a small house, right next to a neighborhood bar. A line of tall trees separated my yard from the parking lot, but every weekend, the noise carried all the way to my front porch. People laughed, argued, sang, sometimes until sunrise. One Saturday night, my best friend Lila came over for dinner. We ordered pizza, watched movies, and talked for hours. She spent most of the night teasing me about being single. Dating had never really been my thing. I'd rather stay home, play video games, and avoid awkward conversations. Around 10 that night, Lila left. I walked her to her car and watched her drive away. As I turned back toward my house, I noticed a group of women standing outside the bar. Most of them were laughing, clearly drunk. One woman wasn't. She stayed behind, standing perfectly still, looking directly at me. I looked around, thinking maybe she was staring at someone else. Nobody, just me. Then she slowly waved. I hesitated, then waved back. She smiled, blew me a kiss, and disappeared inside the bar. I laughed it off, just another drunk customer. I went inside, locked my front door, started playing video games, and forgot all about it. A few hours later, around 1:30 in the morning, someone knocked. 3 slow knocks. I paused my game, walked to the front door, and looked through the small window beside it. Nobody. I waited another minute. Then 3 more knocks. Still, no one. Living next to a bar, I figured someone was just messing around. About 15 minutes later, I happened to glance outside again. The light inside my truck was on. My driver's door was slightly open. Annoyed, I grabbed my keys, walked outside, checked the back seat. Nobody. I shut the door, locked it, and headed back inside. The moment I closed my front door, I noticed something strange. A strong smell. Lavender perfume. It filled the hallway. Lila never wore perfume. The scent definitely hadn't been there before. I figured whoever knocked must have been wearing way too much of it. I checked every lock one more time, turned everything off, and finally went to bed. I put on a movie, trying to relax. I don't know how long I was lying there, maybe half an hour. Then I heard footsteps. Soft, quick footsteps, moving through my house. I turned the movie off, held my breath. The footsteps continued, running from one room to another. Then, a quiet giggle. A woman's giggle. My heart dropped. I quietly got out of bed, locked my bedroom door, and called 911. The dispatcher told me officers were already on the way. Then, everything went silent. The silence somehow felt even worse. I grabbed an old golf club from my closet, unlocked my bedroom door, and slowly stepped into the hallway. Every light was off. The only light came from the kitchen window. I walked toward it, one careful step at a time. When I reached the kitchen, I completely froze. Standing beside the window was a small blonde woman. She was wearing an old, dirty pink dress. She wasn't moving. She was simply staring outside. Then I recognized her. It was the same woman from outside the bar. Without turning around, she quietly said, "Hey, buddy, I know you're there." Then she spun around, locked eyes with me, smiled, and sprinted straight at me. I ran, locked myself inside the bathroom. She immediately started knocking, not pounding, just slow, steady knocks. "Please, open the door. I just want to talk." She repeated those words again and again. Then I heard another voice. "Police!" The knocking stopped instantly. I slowly unlocked the bathroom door. The woman was gone. The officers searched every room. They found the back door standing wide open. She had escaped. Lying on the floor outside the bathroom was one of my kitchen steak knives. She'd grabbed it while I was hiding. The next morning, I went to the bar. The owner recognized her immediately. He said she'd been bothering customers all night before they finally threw her out. That's when I realized what had happened. When I walked outside to lock my truck, she must have slipped into my house behind me. She hid there, waiting for the right moment. I've never seen her again, but ever since that night, every time I unlock my front door, I stop, turn around, and make absolutely sure nobody walked in behind me.
I've always enjoyed living alone. It wasn't because I disliked people. I just liked having my own space. After years of working non-stop, I finally bought my dream house. It wasn't huge, but it was perfect. A quiet neighborhood, a home office, a place that finally felt like mine. For the first few months, everything was normal. Then, I started hearing something, a strange, shuffling sound, almost like someone dragging a heavy box across the floor upstairs. The first few times, I ignored it. Old houses make strange noises. That's what I kept telling myself. But the sound kept coming back, almost every day. Always while I was working downstairs. I'd rush upstairs, only to find nothing. No open windows, no fallen boxes, nothing out of place. Eventually, I convinced myself it had to be squirrels. I even reminded myself to call an exterminator. But work kept getting in the way. Days turned into weeks, and the noises never stopped. Sometimes, they would stop the exact moment I reached the stairs, almost as if something knew I was coming. That thought stayed in the back of my mind, no matter how hard I tried to ignore it. One night, everything changed. I'd been working late in my office. By the time I shut down my computer, it was after 2 a.m. I climbed into bed, turned off the lights, closed my eyes. A few moments later, the shuffling started again. Only this time, it didn't stop. It slowly moved back and forth, directly above my bedroom. Then, silence. A second later, I heard breathing. Slow, heavy, human breathing, coming from the crawl space above me. My bedroom sat beneath a small storage crawl space, a place I'd never used. I grabbed a flashlight, walked into the hallway, pulled the ladder down, and slowly looked inside. Darkness, wooden support beams, insulation. I swept my flashlight across every corner. Nothing. No movement. No sound. Feeling embarrassed, I climbed back down, closed the hatch, but deep down, something still felt wrong. Instead of going back to bed, I spent the rest of the night downstairs. The next morning, everything looked normal. I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it. Until lunchtime, when the shuffling returned, closer than ever, almost like whoever was up there knew I was listening. That afternoon, I couldn't focus anymore. Every little sound made me stop and listen. The house no longer felt like it belonged to me. I promised myself the next morning I'd call someone to inspect the crawl space. That night, the noises returned, even louder, like someone was slowly crawling right above my bed. Then, silence. A few seconds later, I heard a door creak somewhere downstairs. I grabbed my phone and searched the entire house. Nothing. As I walked back upstairs, something caught my eye. The pull string for the crawl space was hanging down. I was almost certain I'd closed it earlier. Then I noticed my bedroom door. I always left it open. Now, it was nearly shut. I pushed it open. The room looked normal, until I noticed a small pile of dirt beside my bed. I slowly knelt down, trying to figure out where it came from. Then, I heard breathing, very close. My heart stopped. Slowly, I looked underneath the bed. A man was lying there. Middle-aged, dirty clothes, long, messy hair. His eyes locked onto mine. He smiles, then quietly said, "Hi. It's okay. It's okay." I screamed, fell backward, ran out of the room, jumped into my car, and called the police. They searched the entire house. The man was gone. But inside the crawl space, hidden behind the support beams, they found blankets, food wrappers, empty water bottles. Someone had been living above my bedroom for weeks. The officers believed, when I searched the crawl space, he stayed perfectly still behind the beams. After I climbed back down, he quietly came out. That's why the pull string was hanging. That's where the dirt beside my bed came from. He hadn't just been hiding inside my house. He'd been watching me. The police never found him. I sealed the crawl space forever. But even today, whenever I hear unexplained noises above me, I remember one terrifying truth. I thought I was hearing squirrels,